From a standalone movie in 2007 to making a comeback with a part 2 and a much bigger cast. There are some details that we know about I Am Legend 2, starting with the fact that Michael B. Jordan will be joining the cast. In fact, the success of I Am Legend 2 rests heavily on Michael B. Jordan's role. Instead of continuing to center on Dr. Neville, the sequel will take a new direction by featuring a new character played by Jordan. This would allow for a new perspective on the post-apocalyptic situation in the I Am Legend world. Given that Will Smith is definitely in the cast means that the writers went with the alternate ending of the film where Dr. Neville survives.
That you or I has ever known is dead! Dead!
Not just that, he goes on to join Anna and Ethan on their quest to find a human colony to give them the cure for the zombie-like disease spread across the world. And that's exactly where Jordan's character could come into play. Maybe he hails from the Vermont colony and will prove to be an ally of the three. Or could it be that he's the antagonist in disguise? I mean, if it comes to that, I think Jordan's more than capable of deceiving the audience. It'll be interesting to see this shift of focus from Dr. Neville to newer characters who can lead the film into something new. But having said that, I truly hope that Will Smith gets his deserved screen time. Because, after all, it's his character that fans have fallen in love with and quite honestly can't wait to see again on screen. Putting Jordan's role aside for a minute, I'm not actually sure what Smith's role would be either. While he may not be the central figure this time around, there are hints that the film will explore his journey to reintegrate into human society. Neville's years of isolation suggest that this transition will not be easy, and the sequel could feature flashbacks of his struggles to connect with others. I hope that despite his reduced screen time, Will Smith's character will remain an essential part of the story. Neville's success in finding a cure implies that he will continue to play a role in the development of medical treatments in the future, given that he doesn't get taken by one of the night-loving zombies. But if that doesn't happen, he may even be a respected leader within the human colony, thanks to his contributions to their survival. It would also be interesting to see Dr. Neville play the role of mentor and father figure to Jordan's character in the post-apocalyptic world. But we'll have to wait and see if that's even going to be the dynamic between the two. One thing to note, though, is that the second part is actually set decades after the first one. It's already been 15 years since the first film anyway, so setting that up wouldn't be a problem, I think. And Akiva Goldsman, writer for the first film as well as this one, has updated us on that in a recent interview. He stated that they are currently expediting two projects, namely I Am Legend 2 as well as a sequel to Constantine. Goldsman also talked about significant details about the plot. He explained how the story would take place many decades after the original movie and would draw inspiration from The Last of Us. Honestly, I love that because I'm also a fan of The Last of Us series. Goldsman stated that he was infatuated with The Last of Us and that the sequel would explore what occurs after a 20 to 30 year period in a post-apocalyptic world, a world where humanity is no longer the dominant species. The movie will take place primarily in New York, and Goldsman expects that the audience will witness the Earth reclaiming its space. Goldsman mentioned that the storyline would trace back to the original Matheson book and the alternate ending, which had a different conclusion than the theatrical release. The author's concept suggested that mankind's reign as the planet's leading species had come to a close, a theme that Goldsman believes is worth exploring. He also indicated that the film will pay closer attention to the original text, adding to its authenticity. Sounds like everything I'd want and the sequel is going to be there. Having said all that, you might be wondering why I'm putting so much trust in Will Smith. Well, that's because it's very rare for him to do sequels like ever. The only exceptions that he's ever made are for franchises such as Bad Boys and Men in Black. And it all adds up to the fact that Smith's one of the most in-demand actors in Hollywood. But I say that's partly because he quickly moves on to the next project instead of revisiting old ones. This is also pretty logical given that once a film has been successful, it's hard to replicate its success in a sequel. So it's not surprising at all that he has been selective about which characters he returns to. This makes his decision to return as Robert Neville in I Am Legend 2 all the more intriguing. It also shows that Dr. Neville has much more to offer in the second part than what we saw in the first film. For one, the story's already something a wide range of audience is interested in, and couple that with some of the best names in the industry. Not just that, with the advancements in CGI and other effects, I'm sure the new movie's going to be big in many places that it couldn't before. And Will Smith realizes that. He wouldn't have signed on otherwise. I mean, it must also have a captivating script or premise to have caught the actor's attention. Funnily enough, it could also be one of his first appearances since the infamous Oscar. Smith rocked Chris Rock's world on stage almost a year ago when he slapped him in front of a world audience. It's no surprise that the guy once crowned the king of social media has been fairly quiet since then.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth!
I'm going to, okay?
He has since realized his mistake and even apologized for his actions. However, it's still going to be tough convincing fans to watch his stuff. And that's where the sequel could come into play. I mean, I wouldn't say that he could take advantage of it, but it won't take much convincing for the fans of the original to go watch the new one. And in a situation where the film does actually end up meeting expectations, it won't take long for people to forgive him. Can't say the same about Chris Rock, though. But before we wrap things up, what about the release date? While I'm as excited about the film as you may be, I'm a little disappointed that there hasn't been an official update on the project as of yet. So it's no wonder that there's no release date for the project yet either. Fortunately, there are indications that the sequel is being expedited, as Goldsman revealed in a recent interview with Deadline. The producer for I Am Legend 2 mentioned that the sequel is being fast-tracked as part of his new first-look deal with Warner Brothers. While no specific timeline has been provided, the news suggests that a release date announcement may be forthcoming in the near future. Well, if we're not getting a release date, I think at least some words of assurance like those are their job too. The fast-tracking of the project indicates that the studio is eager to bring this film to the big screen. It remains to be seen what other surprises the sequel will bring. But with Will Smith back in the lead role, I don't have many doubts. And a talented team working behind the scenes, the prospects for I Am Legend 2 are looking promising.